Let's talk about books. Let's talk about memoirs. I was going to do another Booker long list review, but I have reviewed and given up on a few more Booker books, so I think I'm pretty much through with the Booker for this season. And I'll talk about the ones I gave up on in my end of the month wrap up. And I was kind of thinking about doing a what I did and what I read wrap up at the end of each month because I'm trying to do more things that I enjoy, which is hard for me. It's hard for me to do them, and it's also hard for me to figure out what I enjoy. But I think that if I was including that in a wrap-up, it would motivate me to do that more because I know that I read more just making these videos. So thanks for being here. Anyhow, I still wanted to post something, and so I decided to talk about great memoirs that are not well known. These are books I thoroughly enjoyed. The writing was great. The storytelling was great. I absolutely love memoirs. I love hearing people's stories. I love learning about how they live, about what makes them tick, and it helps me understand myself better. So if you're interested in more memoir recommendations, or if you have recommendations for me, let me know and we can talk about it in the comments. So the first one is called Crisis Pursued by Disaster, Followed Closely by Catastrophe by Mike O'Connor. This is a very compelling memoir starring parents who were at best dreamers and at worst seriously deluded. It's a family system of benevolent lies. The system says this thing that looks like a duck and quacks like a duck is in fact a hippo or a roll-top desk or your grandmother, and you must act accordingly. It's got a lot of humor, a lot of intrigue, a lot of sadness. Because we want to believe our parents. We need to be able to trust them. Even though for certain children, a part of them knows their parents just can't be trusted. So then what do you do at that point? Basically, you just have to believe them anyway and feel like a crazy person because there's really no other alternative. So the author ends up running away at 14 and becomes a foreign war correspondent. So he is a good writer, but this book is about the years before he was 14, growing up, and how his family is constantly moving, constantly on the run. And there's always a sense of danger and impending doom and secrecy. And he and his sisters don't know why, but they're kids, so they don't have any power or the ability to get any honest answers. I will say that the actual reason for all the secrecy and anxiety is overblown. So don't expect that his parents are like serial killers or bank robbers or anything. I think if you go in knowing that it's not the huge deal that they make it out to be, it'll keep it from being a little anticlimactic, but I still recommend it. The next memoir is Paradise, Piece by Piece by Molly Peacock. I was familiar with Molly Peacock because she's a poet. She was the creator of the Poetry in Motion program that was in New York City, which put poem placards in public transit vehicles like buses and subways and stuff, which, I mean, what a great idea. I love that. And although sometimes poets don't make good novelists, this one makes a good memoirist. Molly Peacock writes about her decision to be child-free. And I was amazed, as I always am, that people who choose not to have children encounter so much resistance. I mean, I think kids are fabulous. I love them. But if you don't want them, you don't want them, you know? This book was written in 1998, and that was a lot more controversial decision at that time. But this book discusses her choice to be child-free. And so she tells us how that decision was informed. And the book is kind of a patchwork memoir recounting her childhood, which is the most interesting part of the book, I thought. There's a lot of alcohol and drug abuse in her family, just a lot of tragedy and dysfunction. And it's a really good book. Paradise, Piece by Piece by Molly Peacock. Next is Foreskin's Lament by Shalom Auslander. This is the memoir of a man so tortured by religious guilt. It's funny and it's written in a way to be funny, but you also just want to give the guy a vacation from his brain because he is so overwrought. Like, get some help, get some medication, have a drink, take up salsa dancing, something. But it is very funny. He was raised Orthodox Jew, and here's the section where he talks about his, I mean, obviously, what else are you going to be raised if your name is Shalom Auslander? So there's a section here that I want to read where he talks about his belief in God. He says, I suffer from a metaphysical form of Stockholm Syndrome. Held captive by this man for thousands of years, we now praise him, defend him, excuse him, sometimes kill for him. My relationship with God has been an endless cycle, not of the celebrated faith followed by doubt, but of appeasement followed by revolt, placation followed by indifference, please, 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 followed by fuck it, fuck you, fuck off. And I do not keep the Sabbath, or pray 3 times a day, or wait 6 hours between meat and milk. The people who raised me will say that I am not religious. They are mistaken. What I am not is observant, but I am painfully, cripplingly, incurably, miserably religious. I believe in God, and it's been a real problem for me. If you like books about religion or people struggle with religion, I myself am a religious person, and so I really gravitate toward books about religion. You should definitely pick this up. It is very funny. The last one I want to recommend is called Belfast Diary: War as a Way of Life by John Conroy. This is a little different than the others because it's about a particular period in a man's life, and it leans more toward the journalism side, so it's kind of a cheat. But it was written in the 80s. The author is American. He's a journalist from Chicago, and he lived in Belfast for a few years and offers a very up-close and personal view of what it was like living there during that time. You know, bomb threats, insurance scams, police brutality, the whole gamut. And he really gets into the nitty-gritty of the conflict in Northern Ireland. He explains in depth about the IRA and the historical injustices that Catholics experienced at the hands of England, like the lack of voting rights, etc. I don't think this conflict is really understood by most people who don't live there, and this memoir makes it very clear what the conflict is really about. It's very gripping. This is not objective because he's not telling both sides. He's telling his side, what his experience was during those years. If the subject matter interests you at all, I would definitely try to get a copy. You know, it was published in the 80s, like I said, so I don't know how hard it is to get a copy, but it's a great book. As I said, I love memoirs of any stripe, so if you have memoir recommendations, let me know. If you'd like me to do another video of memoir recommendations, let me know. Right, that's it for me. I'm really glad you're here. Take care.